Welcome to Kimsey Software's MetalTrax training series. This is video 8, Purchase Orders. Receiving in Purchase Orders by Kyle Kimsey.
This is our training video 8 in our training series. This one is Receiving in Purchase Orders. So this is my main screen. I'm going to go up to Purchases. We're going to go over here to the Processing under Purchases and go to Receive Inventory. At this point, we're prompted for a receiving number. That's a system-generated number, so just hit Tab or Enter. If you want to set the next receiving number, you can also do that under your feature initialization for next form numbers that we discussed in previous videos. You can put in the date of the receiving, or obviously if I just hit Enter or Tab, it'll fill in today's date. At the PO number, if I want to do a lookup, I could do a lookup by hitting F2, and I could look up my PO by vendor ID or by PO or by sales order number. In this case, let's look it up. I'm going to just type in the word metal there. I'm going to do my Metal Man products, hit Enter, and then I'm going to come over here and hit F5 or display my records. I have one PO, which is the PO we did on the training video 7, PO number 20,000. We're going to select that. When we do that, you notice the system pops up and says you have a non-material lot charge of $100 that will be applied to this receiving. When we did the PO, purchase order number 20,000, if you remember, we clicked on the non-inventory cost on the header screen, and we put in a $100 lot charge to be applied for the freight to be applied across all the lines on this receiving. So I'm going to click OK. At this point, I'm prompted for a receiving line number. I'm going to hit Enter or Tab on the receiving line number, and now I'm going to put in a PO line number. In this case, I can do a lookup if I want to look up the lines, but in this case, I'm going to do my angle first. System brings in and says you have 100 pieces that you ordered, and they're 20 footers. How many are you receiving? So if I come down here and I type in at the pieces, 100 pieces. Again, if I receive less than that, that would be fine. I could put in 98 pieces, and it'll just ask me if I want to close the line. So I'm going to put 100 pieces. Because this is homogeneous, we're not prompted for any of our user-defined fields, and so I can just do line finished. You noticed that non-material cost that it prompted us for, we could always go in and change it if it was more than $100 or if we wanted to add a surcharge. But in this case, we're going to leave it. I'm going to click on line finished, and we're going to go on to our next receiving line number. At this, I'm going to hit Enter or Tab again. I'm prompted for the PO line number, and I'm going to put PO line number 2. This was when we ordered those non-standard plates at $45 a hundredweight. Notice at this point, I'm prompted for a heat number. So if I type in the heat number, I can hit Enter. And now for the tag number, I can hit Tab or Enter, and it'll assign a tag number. Now on the heat number, if you guys track internal chemistries and you want to set it up so it prompts you for the chemistries, you can come into your feature initializations, and you can just come down to the list and type in the word MTR for mill test reports. Go into chemistry setup, which is 2315, and just click on the prompt there. Do you want to add a new chemistry record when entering a new heat number? If you click on that, it would actually, when you put in the heat number here, it'll prompt you for the chemistries. And it keeps a complete periodic table of the elements. So in this case, I'm going to come in, and let's say I received in 50 by 72, and I received in 10 pieces. Location is asking for your bin location. If you've set up locations when you do a lookup, if you've set up locations when we set up our warehouses, which we did, I can choose the location. If not, you can go set those up under miscellaneous master files and warehouses. Notice that this prompt, it's prompting me for my quantity. It brings in the theoretical weight. But let's say on the receiving, I actually have the actual weight, so I put in 2,554 pounds, let's say. I can put that in. As I hit Enter or Tab on the thickness, it'll bring in my default thickness that's set up on the item ID, which in this case is a 1/4 inch. So I have my theoretical weight and my actual weight. You can also track mill numbers. If the mill gives you a number that they track with the material, you can type that in, and that will track with the system, with the tag throughout the system. Over here are my user-defined fields. User-defined fields are set up in your feature initialization. Again, you can come down here. You can say list features, list all my features that have the word user. You notice tag user-defined fields. That's where I set mine up. Mill, country, condition, customer, grade, tensile. But these can be set up, any user-defined field you want can be set up here. In this case, I don't have any values that I've used to validate. But on country, let's come down, and I can say I'm going to validate that field. And let's say I typed in United States here, and maybe I clicked on add, maybe I typed in Germany, and maybe I have Japan. That's just to show you how you can go and add those fields. Now, since we're on the receiving, those fields, those validations won't be in the system now until I go back out and come back in, and then they will be available where you can do lookups and see the validated fields. So once I'm done entering those, I can save. Now in this instance, I can come in and I can put in, let's say the mill is Nucor. Let's say the country is United States. The condition, I'm not going to track the condition or a customer. Maybe it's not for a customer. In this case, if I want to do a grade, maybe this is A36 grade. And I'm not going to track, just to show you that you don't have to put anything in. I won't track tinsel or temp or finish. And I'm just going to do line finished. In this case, I'm now ready for my third line. On my third line, we're going to do something different. On the third line, what I'm going to do here is to show you, I'm receiving in a bunch of random length bundles. But let's say in this instance, I actually measure each bar. So I'm going to assign a separate tag to each bar, and I'm going to measure each one of those bars. Well, obviously, you could go in and you could put in the heat number and put in line 1, and then do it again. For PO line 3, I could put in another tag. But right here, I'm going to change this. Instead of saying number of bundles, this probably should say number of copies of your line. But let's say I do this and I say that I'm going to do 50 different lines here. Now watch what this does. Now I come down and I assign a heat number. Come down to the tag number. But in this case, I'm going to put in my actual length. So I'm going to put an actual length for the first bar is 20 foot 6 inches. I'm going to track it one piece for that bar, and then I'm going to say location. I'm going to put these at B1. Okay, I'm also going to put in a mill of Nucor again. My country is United States, but I'm not going to fill in anything else. Now watch what happens when I do line finished. Because I put 50 here, it's going to bring in 50 individual tags, starting at tag number 50015 and going to 50016 and so on. And it's going to bring in 50 of those at 20 feet 6 inches. So watch, when I say line finished, it says, hey, just so you know, that exceeds the order quantity. Do you still want to save? I say yes. Okay. Now watch what happens when I come back up here to the receiving line and I do a lookup with an F2 or a lookup. My first line is there that I did my angle, my 100 pieces. Then my second line for my tag for 10 pieces of my plate. But on my angle, I started at tag number 50015 and I just received in 50 different lines. That's just for speed purposes, but watch what you can do. So now you can individually go in and edit the lines. So maybe I want to edit this line. And let's say now the 21 foot random lengths, it still brings that in as my order width and length. But I can go in and add and put in individual lengths if I wanted by clicking on them. But let's say I just want to track them, most of them as 21 foot random lengths, but I want to change maybe the heat number on this one. So I change the heat number here. Maybe this heat number is H54123. Okay? And then maybe I want to change this heat number as well to V45699. And as you can get the gist of this, as I change that, and as I hit tab, it will note that they've been changed. Now if I change any of the weights as well, so let's say I also want to come in here on this one, and instead of 216 inches, maybe this one's 219 inches. Okay? And then maybe this one down here is 221 inches. You notice when I do that, it adjusts my poundage a little bit, and when I'm done, I'm going to save. So I'm going to select, just to show you, I'm going to select one of these lines and select the lines. I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to select this line. Okay? And so when I select this, the only thing, if you change the non-standard, change those 20-foot random lengths, I put it as an actual length there. So if I say, oh no, that's not what I wanted to do, I actually wanted to keep it as 21-foot randoms and then change this actual length to, let's say in this case, I want to change it to 21 feet 9 inches. I can also do that. So you can edit it, or you can actually just do a lookup and you can edit it here on the lines. In this case, I received these in. I only received in, I'll leave that as just a standard 18-foot 5-inch piece. So be careful if you're doing this on the screen that if you change these order widths and lengths and you have them set to randoms, make sure that if you go in and click and change this one of these, you are actually going to be changing it to not a random length. So, but you can do this on any of your products. I could have done this on plate. I can do it on any tagged product. When I'm done, I can just get out of the screen. That's just to show you a quick way to receive in a lot of lines. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to choose one of those lines. Again, I'm going to do a lookup here. I'm going to scroll down and let's choose one of these tags. Let's say one of these last tags was a top piece on the bundle and it looked like it was bent and scratched. And I wanted to do that it wasn't I wanted to say that it wasn't to spec. I can select the line, and down here at the bottom you notice you have a non-conformance button. I can click on that and say I'm actually rejecting one of those pieces, and I can put in the pounds if I want to. The pounds, you notice, are prompted there for 4.781 pounds, and I can say top piece was bent and scratched. Give me credit on this piece. Then I can tell them whether I want them to rework it, send me a new one, repair it, whatever the case may be. But what I'm doing is I wanted to save this and show you. This prints a nonconformity report that I can immediately make a claim against the vendor by clicking on this and basically emailing the vendor right away and saying, hey, that one was not to spec. And I just type in the vendor's ID there and email him over a nonconformance. So once I'm done, I can say receiving finished, and that would allow me to print the receiving. You notice at the bottom here, I could also print tags. So if I printed tags, it would print all my tags in my barcoded format. Now we can set up a tag format to be specific to your company. It can have barcodes on it. Maybe you don't want to put barcodes on it. You design the tag, or we show you the different designs we have, and we can print those tags to a zebra printer or to a printer of your choice. A few other things down in here, just so you know. You can add legs on that plate. We could have added individual legs. We could have sent the item to a different alternate item, like maybe we ordered a certain item and then we're bringing it in and as a galvanized item. We just click on the alternate item ID if that galvanized item was a different item ID. When we're done, we do receiving finished. At that point, it clears it, and I can then put in my next receiving. But if I wanted to call that back up, I could have, type in 662 there. I could call it back up, and I could also print. I could have done line finished, and I could print. So let's go print that. Let's print it to screen, and this is my receiving. So in this case, it gives me, you notice it's 18 pages because it keeps track of all that information that I did. And so on each one of those lines, it will keep track of my tag number, my piece count, what I did, my size, my extended cost, and then at the bottom of this receiving, it will tell me exactly how much cost of the items that I'm receiving in for each one of those categories, each one of those item IDs. And when I'm done, I'm now done, ready to post. It looks good. So I hit the post button. Now you can set up the system so the users can input the receiving but not post it. In this case, I have all abilities because I'm supervisor, so I can click on the posting. It'll say, do you want to post just this receiving? And I do this is a little hand on a general ledger. So I say, yes, post it. If you notice, now we set this up so you can show you, sometimes you guys, well, this one, get this. This says some transactions were not posted because they had a receiving date that was outside the 24 accounting periods. Okay, so before we post this, let's see how to handle this. I go over to my general ledger. I come over to my accounting periods, and I look at my accounting periods, and my accounting periods are only in 14 and 15. Now, if you guys, we've now changed the system. Most of your data will already show 2016 and 2017. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run end of year processing. Now this is in another training, but I wanted to show you what this is. It's going to move all of these periods over and out of archive them, and then it's going to move all periods 15 over here, and then these periods are going to be from January 2016 to December 2016. So let's do that. I'm just going to run a quick end of year processing. And what it does, now I ran that. Now you'll obviously want to talk to us before you do that. This is for when you're originally setting it up if those periods are wrong. But in this case, now let's go look at my periods. You notice I'm in periods 15 and 16, and they're closed. But if I want to open up those periods, in this case, I'm posting to October, so I'm going to open up this period and the next period. In fact, I'll open up the period right before that in case I'm showing you anything. We're doing it back in period in September. Now, all I can post to is the periods that are open. If I try to post to any of these other periods, they're going to say they're closed and not let me. Okay? So now, let's go back. Now that we've taken that little detour, let's go back to your receiving your inventory. I type in my receiving number or do a lookup there. And in this case, I can now post it, and it will let me post through. So if you get an error of that at all, or if it says, hey, you're having problems, call us, or if you don't know what that is, and we'll tell you. In that case, it was simple. It was just that my periods, it was a new setup, and I hadn't advanced my periods yet. So now I'm now ready. That is now posted through, and I've done the receiving. And the next training video we'll do is training video 9. And we're going to be going and putting in supporting purchase orders. So thank you for your time, and stay tuned for other videos.